So Louis, you've been a client of ours for 25 years now. We're going to be celebrating our 25th anniversary.
Already, I'm getting old, guys. I hope you're not seeing all the whites. Yeah, since
so
2001.
You've been since the first days, since the days of Techno Marine.
Yes.
So what was your first watch?
My first one was actually I got two pretty much in the first month. This is right after the Nike Freestyle commercial aired in 2001. It was a global success. And of course, the attraction for me is for watches is understanding that everyone has a different characteristic, and it's a representation of who you are or the feel that you at that moment in time.
And to celebrate the moment that you got your
and that
national commercial.
National ad, and it was an era where I guess obviously influenced with sports and hip hop. Rockefeller was huge at the moment of time. A lot of the music was implementing with, whether it was a Frank Mueller or a Techno Marine. So I got a orange Techno Marine. I'm a Cincinnati Bengal fan, so I wanted something that would pop. The bezel was also, it had diamonds around the Techno, and it was a one-of-one piece that you guys created with the black dial. And then another one, the second one was a Techno Mania that looked similar to a Techno Marine, but more importantly, what I loved about it is designed a case cover. So it looked like a lock, like a clock lock that opened, and it was all diamond flooded, had spikes coming out the sides, and that was a showstopper. So that was
How old were you then? How old were you?
I was 18 years old.
Wow.
I was 18. And then a month after that, I came back for the Super Avenger Breitling with the customized. You guys didn't give me the regular Breitling band. I had the Bentley band.
Wow.
And it was a square 8-carat diamond bezel that sat, no lie. It felt like it was an 8-track player on it, but I loved it. So again, fell in love with watches and been an enthusiast ever since. And even more so, watches are also a piece of art. I come from an art background. My dad's an oil and acrylic painter, so I love art. I used to draw, and it also has, significant resale value, and it's an investment. So I look at that as an investment, and leads us to these beautiful pieces that I'm drooling over.
So you basically grew from going from like technos to Breitlings, and now you're looking at all factory pieces.
Yep, factory. I love the Batman piece. I'm also a huge fan of like the Hulk, right? The Hulk sub. So the Submariner. I feel like it's an everyday piece, and understanding the value between the Pepsi or the Batmans or the Starbucks left-hand watch. It's just a nice everyday piece that has super resale value. Here we have this monster here.
The Grail, the yellow gold AP blue dial, reference 26331BA. So this is a very nice piece.
Solid gold throughout.
Solid 18 karat yellow gold. Wow. What do you like about this piece? What do you feel why did you gravitate towards AP?
Well, I think, from my understanding and from what I've read, like Rolex that has so much value, these APs, their word is, and I can't use the word not popular, but in the urban community and being new to watch collecting, unless you see somebody or hear about it, you really won't know. And it's been pretty prominent in sports and in hip hop for at least probably like later in this past decade. Yeah. But the resale value and watching the growth of these watches from the pandemic on, it's only grew in value when everything else seems to be getting depleted or diluted. These things have such a good resale value, and I can understand why so many entertainers or celebrities or watch enthusiasts gravitate to at least one or two in their collection because of the resale value. It's like wall art. It's really like wall art.
What do you say that you see like most on movie sets? Because I mean, you did.
Yeah, for most of the films.
You've been into a lot of movies. You did a lot of series.
Absolutely. I think one watch that I see very often in a lot of actors with gift watches is always a classic sub. I think Submariners are an everyday, because while you're on set, you can beat it up a little bit more, carrying the cameras, and that seems like more of an everyday piece. Adorn red carpets and premieres would be, so now there's an AP, I don't know the name or the model number, but it's becoming popular lately that I'm seeing often. It's completely blue. Is it enamel blue or
that's
blue
the
gold?
ceramic perpetual calendar.
Yeah, that's becoming extremely popular. So
it comes blue, black, and white.
Yep.
Really nice piece.
That's the piece. That's the piece I'm seeing very very often. And of course, the presidential rose gold specifically, even though me being a fan of rose gold more so than whiter traditional gold, I've seen these on, you know, tons of athletes and personal friends of mine that have these. So it's, but not with the green dial.
So you also see a lot of celebrities now, not just athletes, celebrities are getting sponsored by a lot of watch brands.
Yes.
I know you're friends with John Travolta. You seem very close with him.
Yep. I got a couple of watches from his Breitling.
Yeah, so he's sponsored by Breitling.
Yep.
What do you think?
The historic background, you know, the history, either Rolex or even a Tudor. I'll even take a Tudor. I'll even take a Tudor. You know, I'll take the sister. I'll take the sister. So. Yeah.
So Tudor's the one that you would want?
Yeah, I think I would do Tudor. I don't think there's, if I had to pick a celebrity or somebody that could kind of elevate the brand, right? I think Rolex had a plethora of them, so as many other brands, but I think Tudor, people don't really know that it's a sister company made with some parts with Rolex, and it's just not popular. So I like to take something on the ground level and build it up. It's part of my producing personality on, like, you know, taking something, trying to watch it grow and flourish. I think has more fulfillment and excitement.
And it also gives you an option to do something different, whereas in Rolex kind of is the same thing over and over and over.
Exactly.
You'd be doing something very different, very different materials, because Tudor is very famous for using things that are outside of the Rolex box. You got, you know, they use black DLC, they use fabric, all the stuff that Rolex doesn't do. Rolex is kind of, we're sticking to our classic, we're not touching anything that's
like a Ferrari. They don't do no modifications when you're trying to buy it. You're going to get it like you get it, and that's it. So to having the factors of bending a little bit, again, part of my personality, right? Changing the status quo, being so successful in Hollywood, full of tattoos, I feel like a brand that has a little bit more of a wiggle in the bend would be, again, something that feels organic to me that I can help try to grow. So Tudor, if you're out there.
Yeah, definitely. Tudor is the way to go. So as you know, all these watches right now are very hard to get. So I'm sure you've stopped in some Rolex stores.
Yes, actually, throughout my travels, I travel often. Just last year, actually, I was in Barcelona, then I went to Venice, and two of the locations trying to get a celebration piece, and they're unavailable. In a lot of Rolex stores, specifically in Europe, in the EU, you can't walk into a Rolex store and purchase a Rolex. It's like on order, or they'll have one shipped. So even in some of the locations here in the States, you know, you can't walk in and have a plethora of options, whether if you want, you know, something with rose gold with an oyster band, or if you want, you know, rose gold presidential, especially with, you know, a green dial and some of the dial, you're not going to have them. They don't have them. And at very best, even pulling a celebrity card, you're probably, you know, still a week out, or maybe they can probably try to, you know, make an order in, you know, 2 weeks, but it's almost impossible. So having a one-stop shop coming to you guys where you have everything on site is, it's unusually a sight
rare.
You don't see. Yeah, you don't see this often. So it's,
you get to try on every model. You get to try on, see what you like, and from different brands. We don't discriminate on brands. We work with every brand.
Absolutely.
We work with Rolex. We work with AP, Frank Mueller, UN, whoever's out there. We work. So we work with all the brands. We don't discriminate. A lot of these boutiques that you go into, they're working with one brand, so it's either you buying a Rolex or you're not.
Yeah, and that was one of the factors, the reason why I kept going to you guys for 20 plus years, is the fact that if I had a question or you would give me the honest opinion, I would ask you for your personal opinion, and then you would also give me all the options and what would probably be best suited with all understanding. And then one thing that's so important that you guys do that most don't, you sit there, work all the paperwork out, so making sure every single piece, whether it's a watch, whether it's a custom chain, an engagement ring I purchased for you. I was going to say many times, but it feels like as many times. I'm married now. My wife, she'll kill me if I say that, but it's the truth. Tennis bracelet, you made sure all the paperwork was there and was ready, and it was folded, and I felt insured the minute I left any of the locations. So it was great. It was great.
We always try to work with customers where it's not we don't want it to be a one-hit wonder where we sell you one thing and then we never want to see you again because we either took advantage of you. So our clients become our friends, and we want to keep it that way. We don't want to just see you one time and say, you know, high five each other because we sold you something that is either overpriced or undervalued or anything like that. So we try to keep most of our clients, and I generally want to say that 99% of our clients have been with us to the point of that we see their kids were picking out jewelry for our watches. I mean, we've had so many times where people come in and they're buying watches for themselves and they're buying for their kids, and then their kids are coming to pick out jewelry for their kids.
I've seen it firsthand, you know.
So it's
and a lot of the relationships that I still have till this day were met across this table in the previous location you have. A lot of the friends, Big Rob, I still contact. There's a group of guys that I've met. It felt like it was a podcast community before podcast. So this is innovation at its finest. These guys were doing things before their time. And again, I love to brag the fact that you were the first company to have jewelry, signature jewelry on a video game that sold over 1 million units. So shout out to ECI for that. LA Rush. Yep, LA Rush, guys.
Yes, we were advertising there. How do you pick out your piece based on, let's say you're going to an event? What was a recent event that you went to?
One that I'm going to?
Or that you went to?
So I just came back from, for example, I was just at a photo shoot for my wine. So something that would pop, I would do something, because it's, you know, something that was wine or a photo shoot, I would do something that would not really probably attract too much attention in front of the camera on the shots, but yet have a value and look elegant, but yet feel rich, will probably be, you know, like a presidential piece. Nice. You know.
Definitely. So you pick out based on not based on your clothes, based on the event that you're going to.
The event and how I feel at the moment, right? If I feel a little bit more, you know, I'm feeling wind down, I'm dressed nice. You know, usually when you dress nice, you want to kind of take it easy, be settled, be relaxed, classic. I will go with like more of a settled classic piece. And depending on the mood, right? Because it's all about what mood. Everybody's in different moods every day. You know, you can even do a Submariner, but be in a very difficult Submariner find, like the Hulk, right?
Yes.
And just something that people understand. I remember I mentioned it before, how much I like the green. And I think the significance of the Rolex Submariner Hulk is simply because the color, the green, represents the Rolex, right? It's an anniversary color, and that's why it's kind of the popularity so much more there. Or you could just do, you know, a presidential or, you know, an Oyster Band Datejust, right?
Yeah.
Datejust,
Nice,
fluted
piece.
band, 41. So, you know, if your kids playing sometimes during dinner, it happens often. You know, your watches you don't feel like you got to really be careful. You know, they get banged up. So, and again, one thing I also learned later in my experience of understanding watches, I didn't know, and you can contest this since, you know, this is your lane. It's, is it kind of frowned upon to buff or clean your watch in terms of holding value? Does watches hold value if you never get them cleaned, like if it has?
So it kind of
theory.
So it goes both ways. I mean, if you have a vintage piece like a 1950s, 1960s, something that's no longer being made and is being valued at that level, then you never want to polish it or clean
Copy
it.
that.
You kind of want to keep it. You can't even send it into Rolex to get serviced.
Oh, no kidding.
Because a lot of times Rolex does not consider the value of it being old. They just put in a new dial.
And that's Rolex. That's the manufacturer.
That's the manufacturer.
Wow, guys, you're hearing this first.
They're looking at it in terms of functionality. They're not looking at value, because to them it's the functionality of their watches. Their watches were designed as tools. Submariner was made for divers, GMT was made for pilots. So every watch of theirs has a tool that you're using for professions. And so when you send in a vintage sub and the dial is scratched and it's a 1950 sub, like a red Submariner, which says Submariner in red, that watch can value anywhere from $50,000 to $150,000.
Right.
And now they took out a dial that was in that watch and they put in a new dial. That watch went from 150 to 50 automatically.
Wow.
But they're looking at it functionality.
Yep.
I need it to function.
Right.
They don't look at value. So you definitely have to be careful in terms of if you have a vintage piece, where you give it to get fixed. You kind of have to look at all. But new watches, more modern watches, I recommend whatever you feel comfortable with. If you want your watch to look brand new, then get it polished, get it done so that you're happy wearing it.
With your piece.
Yeah.
And that's another good factor you guys have here at 37 West 47th, between 5th and 6th, guys, ECI. Come in here, you know, you take the elevator, 1301, AC is great, marble floors. It feels elite. It feels intimate, right? My driver dropped me off, and you're hopping out, and there's a bunch of jewelers trying to pull you from all directions. It gets overwhelming, especially if you have families or you just want to be quiet and understand and have this one-on-one. But you guys also have your service and manufacturing right upstairs, right? So it's a one-stop shop. So that's what I really love. And you guys always had that service where, you know, if something happens, because it happens, right? Sometimes if the diamond gets loose, we'll take it off, and you will walk me right there, and they will just fix it on the spot, and just service you don't even have. I mean, you guys service jewelry better than, you know, some of the luxury cars I have, because everything feels intimate and one-on-one. So I love that about you guys.
We kind of want to stay. A lot of times we have customers that come in, and we would want to be treated the same way we would be treated when we go in somewhere else. So we always look at that part. So a lot of times when you go to certain places, they're like, hey, just get it done, get it done. We always say we want to get it done the right way, and that's why we hire our own people. We have our own watch polisher, we have our own diamond setter. So we control all aspects. That way there's no mistakes. It doesn't devalue anything, that no dials are switched out from your watch when you bring it in. So we control that, and we take pride in this stuff. We actually wear all the jewelry that we sell. We wear the watches that we sell because we enjoy it. And we also kind of take it for a test drive. So when we're wearing a watch and we're looking at it, we're like, you know what, this bracelet's uncomfortable even because I have a small wrist, or this bracelet is very comfortable because I have a small wrist. We look at all aspects, and it allows us to sell you watches better because we've actually owned them and enjoyed them. So we kind of tell you which route to go with. You know, like I've taken watches myself on vacation. And I see that, you know, on a leather band, let's say I took a Rolex Sky Dweller on a leather strap, and I saw that the strap wasn't meant for the water. So anytime a customer comes in, we offer them, you know, the rubber strap Sky Dweller. So we kind of know which way to push you. That way you pick the right watch for your lifestyle. I love that. I love that. What do you, while we're at that conversation, that's the Platinum Day Date 40. I'm pretty good at understanding these watches, guys. This is my first time doing it. But again, when you're a watch enthusiast and understand it and treat it like art, it's just, it's one of my favorite pieces. Is that a Tiffany dial? It's a dial that they only put in platinum pieces. I've never seen that before. So Rolex usually only does baby blue dials for platinum pieces. Yeah, but I've never seen the Roman numerals in this type of blue. Yeah, so it's like they call this a quadrant Roman numeral dial. In that color? What kind of color is that? It's a Tiffany, almost like a Tiffany baby blue. Man, that's gorgeous. So full platinum. Yeah, full platinum. And one of my reasons why I like this watch is it's very understated. You don't have that. It's not loud. Yes. It's not loud like a Cartier, but you know what? If you know watches like myself, you're staring at it and you're like, oh my gosh, he has something that's magnificent. And guess what? He doesn't even need a fluted bezel. Yeah. It jumps. Well, now they started doing them in fluted bezels. They used to do them in flat. What's the retail on that? This one is going for $70,000. Wow, okay. Yeah. Okay. We're selling them, I mean, we have them in all different conditions and price points, but we're anywhere from $55,000 to $65,000. Nice. So on these type of pieces, there's definitely a big savings because these go for under retail. They're not as popular as the Pepsi and the Batman. Oh, you're talking about a different price point. Definitely different price point. Definitely different price point. But they're not. Are you seeing more sales with a presidential, you know, rose gold or a platinum versus an AP? Because I feel like the price points are roughly about the same from an offshore and a presidential, right? Or so our number one selling piece is Datejust. A lot of people like Rolex Datejust, and it also gives you an option to come in different combinations. Rolex Datejust come in green and blue, in two-tone, and two-tone rose, two-tone. You got white gold bezels, smooth bezels. It gives you a plethora of options. So it's also why it's the number one seller, because you can get a watch for $7,500 or you can get a watch for $18,000. Yeah, so it kind of goes into that. I like to ask these questions. Are you an oyster band or a Jubilee guy? I'm an oyster band guy. Okay. I like oyster bands because I feel that you get the solid look. Yeah. With a Jubilee band, I feel that it's more comfortable for people with smaller wrists because the links are smaller. So they. And if you have hair, usually it pulls a little easier. Definitely. But I do say this: if I had to do two-tone, it's oyster. If it's stainless, I will go Jubilee just because it has that fluted kind of look to it. Yes. But because you could go two-tone with Jubilee, but you don't appreciate the small rose gold or gold in the middle. It
just not as, it takes away from my opinion than an oyster, because you got a solid links in the middle that are strong.
So another one of my questions is, if you had a chance to design a Rolex, what would you do?
What would I do?
What would you do?
Simple. I would do.
Would you do a new model, or would you take an existing model and put your own?
No, I think I would. That's a very good question, man. I've never been asked that before. I would honestly, I think I would take. All right, so my first watch, and one thing I did love about Breitlings in the past is the masculinity of bulkiness. So, like a GMT. It feels like it's bigger, and it just feels thicker. Deep sea, right?
Deep sea is the big one. Yeah.
Yeah, deep sea. So if I would do a presidential, I know they come in 40 now?
40 millimeters there.
Why not a 41, 42, but just a little thicker in its dimensions here? What's this called with the thickness? It just feels like it's not as sleek, like the sleekness of a presidential is almost quite similar to a Datejust.
Yes.
But if they can make it feel a little bit more heavy, I think I'm so used to heavy.
A heftier president.
Yes, a little bit more bulky. That's all I would do. Maybe 41, even 42 would be awesome.
So Rolex designs the deep sea in a 48, well, they actually have two deep seas. They have a 44 and a 48 millimeter.
I've never seen a 48.
48 is huge. It's the same size as your Super Avenger. So you would want a 48 millimeter.
And that's not common though.
It's not common. Definitely.
But they do make them.
They do make them. They do make them. But they just released this year a yellow gold deep sea, which is kind of, in the watch world, it's kind of redundant, because you're actually taking a gold watch and you're going to the depth that it's designed for. No diver would do that in his right mind. So it's kind of weird that Rolex did it. But maybe you have a thing going. Maybe Rolex is going that extra large route. So they might get you your president in 48 millimeters.
And if not, we probably know a company could. Tudor. I'm telling you, Tudor. Maybe Tudor would be the one. Tudor,
so
you
if
listening?
they're watching this,
Tudor.
they're definitely they got to take notes.
Next month, Tudor's the complete sponsor here. It'd be great. Watch. No, this is awesome. Yeah, this is great. But I think personally, their watches always have its own. There will always be what they are. But I feel community, culture, and desires implement the wave. It's like the market, right? On what has highs and lows, or what becomes more popular. Clearly APs are popular for the obvious reasons. If you guys listen to any type of music, it's you hear a lot of APs and Cartiers and things that have that buzz. Presidential's been doing it for quite some time, and I feel these type of pieces are something that are it goes in waves. I mean, at one point in time, it used to be Breitling. Now Breitling, nobody's really
wearing Breitlings.
Or the music's not influencing Breitling.
Yes, but it's not part of the mainstream younger clientele. They're going after a different clientele. So
either was AP, but I think what changed that narrative was the fact that in the past 20 years, I mean, we're in an era where there wasn't no social media. People have access to their phones, and they're seeing things on a daily basis that naturally, you wouldn't see or hear about.
Yes.
So now it's becoming a lot more open to the world, and that's why, guys, if you guys are in a place where you're looking for a watch, even if you don't have the funds for it, a lot of guys are like, oh, it's out of my reach. It's never out of your reach, right? Because if you're looking for an investment, just like you buy homes, you buy cars depreciate value, watches don't. So just keep that in mind. But these guys have been A1 with me since day one. And they even rhymes, but it's an organic friendship and relationship. If you guys just want to come, take a look, walk around, try some stuff on just to see what it feels like, ask questions, and that's what I did. That's what
take pictures.
Yeah, take pictures, flex for the gram, post them. They're all willing to do so, and that's what kind of encouraged me to start making my first purchases. And again, even if you have a watch, and whether it's a Rolex, an AP, or you're just not pleased in the situation you're in, or you want out, these guys are always the first ones to take a look at your pieces and allow you a monetary value or switch you out for something they have. So they've been extremely helpful, and I call you guys not only a jeweler but a complete concierge service. So
yes.
Again, it's always great. And these guys don't age. I guess the stress in this industry is awesome. You guys don't age. I need in. I got more white hair than everybody. I should stop acting.